Hi everyone, welcome back to Heartland Mamas.
I'm Heidi Henry, and I'm in your face today.
I'm Murri Briel, trying to save the human race.
And we're talking to you from the edge of the Great Red Divide. And the Great Red Divide, Murri, is the area where the messaging of progressivism is not going to. From Illinois, from Will County, all the way to California, there is dead space. So that's why we call it the edge of the Great Red Divide.
Absolutely. So Heidi and I had a very adventurous week. We drove down to Cincinnati, Ohio, where we attended the Cincinnati Trump Rally.
We did.
And people want to know why. Well,
because, Murri, when I ordered the tickets, I said to you, I said, we see little snippets of this on TV all the time, right? So all we see is the worst of people. We wanted to see what else was out there. If it is really this huge, nasty group of people, or if it's just people like you and me that are there in support of something they believe in. So I ordered the tickets and talked Murri into going. So
to me, it was really important, exactly what Heidi said. I was on board with going. At first I was thinking, oh, it would be fun to like mess with people and see if we could get,
Okay, that's
chance
me.
going. Yeah, that's usually her. And then the more I thought about it, the more I thought this is really a great idea, because I've always been someone who questions whether or not people even know what they're doing, or if they
Right.
understand what they're doing. And
If they're sheeple.
so going down there, we had to check our own biases. Honestly, I expected to see a ton of people screaming, chanting, excited, talking about, different races and talking about judges in line. And I don't know, I just expected something completely different. And I was really surprised. So in that surprising, as we're waiting in line and I'm listening to the protesters and
The counter protesters.
no, we could hear the protesters across the
Right.
street.
But they were the anti-Trump protesters.
Right.
Right.
And then those of us standing in line, and the line swung around 3 times, and that was for optics.
It was optics. It was
They
so
had
deliberate.
one door open for
To
the
let us in.
entire stadium.
They wanted it to look like Trump was the second coming of the Beatles reunion. And if they had thought that through, the two of the Beatles are dead, so they wouldn't have really had that. But they wanted it to feel that way. So they funneled you into one checkpoint, and they made the line wrap around the block. I was so glad, because my husband had wanted to come with, that he didn't come because he's handicapped, and we could not have done that. But Murri and I were also invited to attend the pre-rally training, which we didn't connect with fully because it was something that kind of came up last minute. We didn't connect with it. But they had people that went to a training beforehand. They were furnished a hat, a shirt, sandwiches and beverages, signs, and they were directed on how to interact with the crowd. So we got there, and the music was pumping. I mean, it was pounding to the point where I wish I'd brought
Okay, we back up a
earplugs.
sec, though. I want to
yeah.
talk about just a little bit about coming in. So, as Heidi's talking about, the lines are snaking back and forth. So you're literally with different sets of people the
Yeah.
whole way. So we got to see close up a personal several thousand, I would say, folks
Oh,
that
yeah.
were there. But
So-
what I thought was interesting is that three observations I made right away. One, there were very, very, very few minorities. In fact, after about 30 minutes, I said, oh, I'm going to start counting how many people whose skin is browner than mine are here.
We were counting non-white people because they were easy to count because there were so few of them. We came to a total of 34.
No, 43.
43?
43.
Okay, so she got more than I did, but in her count. But I'm going to say, let's give it a big number. Let's say there was less than 100 of the thousands of people that were there.
So that was the first observation. And then the second observation I made was mostly everyone was dressed in some sort of Trump wear, but a large portion of it, I'd say 80% of it, was not offensive Trump wear. It wasn't
No.
lock her up. It wasn't.
yeah.
There was
some.
There was some, and this is what I'm trying to say. Yes, what you've seen on TV, what you've seen on social media, yes, there was that there. but a larger portion of it wasn't that, which was...
It was a lot of red, white, and blue, a lot of USA gear, a lot of Trump merch, because he's really big on his merch, shirts, T-shirts, hats.
There weren't as many MAGA hats as I thought I would see.
Oh, yeah.
There was a lot, but I expected to see even more.
Well, and especially when they were selling them out 2 for $10 as we were leaving the stadium.
2 for $10.
They couldn't sell. The stuff was not selling.
So, and the third observation was the lack of excitement. Like, I have been to concerts. I've been to rallies. We've all been there, right? Even standing in line at an amusement park. There are people talking, different groups are talking, they're talking whatever they're talking about, whether it's the ride or family or having fun. Or,
right.
There's always some sort of buzz, and there was none of that. It was eerily quiet. It was quiet.
And I told you.
It was so weird.
It was like in Soylent Green.
She Stanley thinks they were going to become food.
Because in Soylent Green, and if you have seen the movie Soylent Green or read the book, they're all standing in line to be processed into food to feed other people. And they're just standing there walking along, knowing they're going to their demise, but they really just do that because they don't know why. They're just standing in line. And to me, it was somewhere between Kubrick and Orwellian.
For me, I was just expecting so much different. So we had to cross through here. So there was a group of anti-Trump protesters on the other side, and they weren't being disruptive or rude or totally jerks. They were chanting things, clearly, because that's what they do, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But what was interesting was we passed them a couple of times as the line snaked, and only 2 or 3 times did I hear any of the Trump goers yell back at them or chant back at them.
Right.
They weren't, like, you would think, like, if you've ever been to a Chicago Bears game, there's always a chant going on, and it's like,
I
know. Bears suck. Whoever the other team is. And it goes, and this wasn't like that. To me, it was just so, where am I? Because you have always, the image that is portrayed is that everyone there is a fanatical, crazy nut job. They all are in love with, Trump. And that's just not the case.
Even the groups of Proud Boys that we saw go by were really quiet and respectful. They looked like, Chad from your college.
We did see a Covington Catholic high school student.
Oh, we did.
Who was at the rally. It was
and we
interesting.
I saw some of the QAnon people. They were together and very eerily silent. So we did not see the altercation where the young man jumped out of a car and beat the crap out of an old man. We missed that one.
While we were standing in line, it was really interesting, was we were getting closer to the bridge where we went up. There was a big motorcycle that was stopped at the light across from the counter protesters, or the anti-Trump supporters. And he was revving his engine. Well, I've done a lot of rallies and protests, and typically when they do that, that's a good thing. That's showing that you're in favor of them.
Right.
If they're not, they don't do anything, they just go away. So the woman next to me, he's just revving, and I go, boy, I wonder why he's doing that. And she looks at me and goes, well, to drown out their chants. And I looked at her and said, could he be supporting them? And her face went, she had an implicit bias.
Yes.
So it was really interesting to ask people to look past those things without ever using those trigger words.
And this is where Heidi's kind of in your face and toying with people because they're fun to see how they are. And in front of us was a couple and their young married child and his wife, right? And they're teachers, and they're going in to teach. He's going to start at a public school teaching history.
And she teaches at a Christian school.
Yes. So Murri was talking to him about how they're going to be teaching civics. And the father said something about, well, you mean they'll get a real constitutional scholar? And at one point I looked at him, and of course I was dressed as Cookie, the Trump supporter at the time. And if you go on our Facebook page, you'll see what I was wearing. And I blended in really well. So I had a fanny pack, so I figure I
fit really good. It was a little frightening.
So But I said to him, because he's gone on and on about needing a constitutional scholar that really knows the Constitution. And I said to him, like Obama, I said he was a constitutional scholar. And then
What did he do? I missed that part.
oh my gosh. And then I had to turn away because I was going to laugh in his face because he's like, because just the look in his face that Obama was a constitutional scholar was like,
How, like, a what?
he was a what? So, and that was when we were talking about science to someone else. I said, oh, who needs science? It's all fake, So, my son gives me our sound engineer, Christian Henry, our producer, he gives me a hard time about toying with people like that, and it's not nice. But I do.
And I wanted to be specific. It would be fun, and it would be easy to do. And you were really good. She was respectful.
I do it to make people think.
Trying to be rude.
No.
I do it slightly differently because I again wanted to make people think.
I do
My
too.
approach was to not play into their narrative, but also not bring our narrative to it. Was just to keep as many loaded charged terms away from questions and ask about actual things that you can see and
I was doing that, but to be provocative. So in front of me when I don't know, do you want to move on to the event itself?
Yeah, we can talk about it. So then as we snuck our way around and we got through, it was
packed,
hot as heck. It was so unbelievably hot.
Mm-hmm.
And we wandered around trying to find seats, and somehow we got into the VIP section.
I was pulled in
way top.
No, well, Murri was in front of me, and I got pulled in probably because of my cookie outfit to sit in the VIP section that would have been directly behind the president and on TV. And everybody asked me, "Do you think they'll put you behind him?" And all I could think of,
no, I don't.
This is the perfect spot for me, because I would be like that kid in North Dakota. What?
So this is what was also interesting. So then
they threw me out.
Then they threw her out. But we went up top. The VIP section also went up to the top.
Yeah.
And so what that section was it was all optics. There was nothing else about it. They had 8 giant
spotlights.
Stadium football spotlights
to illuminate
with
us.
At least 6 cans.
It was bad lighting
one.
For me.
You couldn't see. I have video that I'll post and some pictures and things, but you really, it was all a giant fuzz because you could not see him. You could not see anything. You were blinded by the light. I literally had green flashes going.
I don't know if that was purposeful.
It was purposeful.
I mean,
to highlight the crowd.
And to keep us from being able to see him clearly. No.
Because it was all done for optics. It had nothing, because all the other sides you could see him clearly. This was for the TV cameras.
So we went around until we were way up high so we could face where he was. I wanted to look at him. And I wanted to look at the entire crowd. So we went around so we could be up high and look down at everybody there just to see what people look like. And Murri went down by the causeway to get a different perspective than I had. And at one point, I was talking, I had to let this guy in next to me, for some reason decided to do the whistle thing right next to my left ear.
Yeah.
For what reason? Except to deafen me. Anyway, there was a man sitting 3 seats down from me that had a United Steelworkers shirt on. So my husband's brother, he's a IBEW union brother. So I thought I'd go down and talk to him. So I went down and I said, "Hey, U.S. Steelworker." And he goes, "Yeah, unions for Trump." And I said to him, "That's really fascinating to me." I said, "How long have you been a Trump supporter?" "Well, the whole time." And I said, "Well," "it's surprising you're in favor of him because he has come out and said that he wants to have a federal right to work law." And he said, "A what?" And I said, to break the unions, he wants to have a federal right to work law so everybody can earn less. And okay, and I have to watch that because I'm going to get kicked out. So, and he just looked at me, he goes, "I never heard of such a thing." I said, "Well, check with your membership, with your business agent, and ask him about the federal right to work law because he would like to make that so." So then, it was just kind of interesting talking to people. I managed to talk to the 4 Pentecostal women that were of color. We only counted 7 black people, right? Actual black people. No
Yes,
Mexicans.
yes. No, there were four Latinx people.
Oh, were there?
Four Latinx
Okay.
people were there. The largest demographic by far was white male.
Yes.
There was far less white females there than there were white
And the
males.
white females that were there were very, very religious. And the one woman that talked to me, I said, what was your most exciting thing? She clutches her crucifix and she said, she starts crying about the wall. Okay, I still don't have words.
Heidi's a religious person, so she
I
just
am.
lost her mind at that moment.
Also I kept thinking is Jesus saying, and you welcomed me when I was an immigrant, and I kept thinking, what church do you go to? Because the Episcopal Church is really big on teaching you history and facts, and apparently wherever she goes, maybe they don't read the actual Bible. I don't know, but I'm just thinking if a stupid wall brings you to tears, lady, religious tears, honey, you've lost your way, And it was all I could do not to get up in her face about that. But
I was so proud of Heidi. We both did a great job, and just opening people's minds. And utilizing...
I use biting sarcasm and stuff like that to get people to think, because certainly the union guy, the brother, had no idea that we have a federal right to work law working its way through the Senate right now. It's in committee. And you have to, if you're a union brother or sister, honey, you're going to lose your good paying job and your benefits. So you need to stop thinking about, oh, Trump is going to, and the Mexicans are going to take our jobs. So that's not happening. Okay, so we're going to take a little pause here because the president's coming on, and then we'll pick back up.
So we had our moment where the president came in and spoke.
And that was interesting. I don't know, how many times can you evoke the word of God or the name of God? Not the word of God, the name of God.
Well, let's go back to the Trump rally and talk about how those two do not match what we heard
today
versus today. Yeah, so this worked out very, very well for us.
Yes.
So we had the Governor Dewine.
Yes, Mike Dewine, who opened for Mike Pence. And Mike Dewine was a light fluffer. He just talked about some of the things that they've accomplished. Ohio just passed a heartbeat bill, which is why the protesters were largely religious right. And Mike Dewine got booed last night at a vigil. Severely booed. Yeah, well, Ohio's an open carry state. An open carry state. And a man with a 100-round magazine and body armor shot up Dayton, Ohio. So do you think Mike Dewine's going to be well loved in Ohio right now? Absolutely not. They're saying he's going to be one-term Dewine. So
he wasn't particularly excited about being there that night. He, you would think, okay, you're the governor of a state, you have which your party is governed by that party, the vice president and president are coming in. You would think he would have more, maybe he's just a bad public speaker. I don't know.
Well, how can you be a bad public speaker and be elected
amen, it happens all the time.
Well, okay,
don't even.
So in Cincinnati, it's way down at the southern, we literally stayed in Kentucky right across the border. So you are a Kentucky touching area of the country. You're so far south, you're down by coal country. I was shocked that people can smoke inside because, in Illinois
you can still smoke inside in Kentucky.
And I took a picture of a cigarette machine.
I did not see that. Oh my.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's way off. That's Heidi's sarcasm again. So Mike Dewine opened. He was pretty soft and fluffy, and then came super fluffer Mike Pence.
Mike Pence. He was on super charismatic pills because I have never heard him as passionate and evangelical and riling up. He was a massive fluffer. I'm like, oh my goodness.
We drove through the state of Indiana, and I have not driven from one end of Indiana to the other in over a decade. I couldn't believe all the religious signs like God this, God that, hell is real, which we used as a hashtag, because it was ridiculous. There's all these bizarre statues and stuff lining the interstate. And I'm thinking, you don't want to hide your light under a bushel as a Christian, but could you choose better messaging? It was a very threatening, God will get you for coming through our state of Indiana. So that's where Mike Pence is from. And then he's in Ohio, which just passed this heartbeat bill. Oh, it's like the Mike Pence wet dream. I've gotten no other way to.
And I mean, I took away. Okay, so I took away from Pence and Trump particularly.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really big on information, on facts, on
Right.
what, you make a decision. This is what you see. Try to pick through it. That's why I'll be posting bits and pieces of the videos when I get to clip them, because I don't want our opinion to be the only one. I want you to look beyond the faces of white. I want you to look at those faces, because I was struck at how few people were excited about what the president was saying. How there was the whole stadium wasn't USA was.
Hold on.
But different chants. It was from one particular area, etc. Okay, yeah, we'll get to that in a sec. But I really want to make it clear that when I heard the Vice President of the United States in person making false statements about the other party, about the Democrats, about Mike Pence got more cheers than Donald Trump did, honestly.
Well, and certain
but when
issues.
he said, if you vote for one Democratic candidate, you will be responsible for plunging this great Christian nation into socialism, which we will never escape from. And
it was so egregious.
I get it. We have freedom of speech. We can all say stuff. I get it. Candidates say shit all the time that isn't real, right? Excuse the language. They're not necessarily real, but they spin facts like we all do. And statistics, the first thing you learn in statistics is they lie. All of them lie. You can make it say anything you want. The point of going and the whole tie-in together is to hear someone who is in a position of leadership, a position of not even spin those facts, not even try to soften them a little, but just to be so blatantly
threatening
and false was shocking. It's a dereliction of duty. You have a bigger responsibility when you've been elected, or when you're in a position of power. You have a responsibility to others, and not to pull the crap that I saw. That's what pissed me off more than anything.
Well, and I've read extensively on why the evangelicals are not coming down on Trump, because you cannot claim conservative values and be a Donald Trump person, because name a conservative value: family values, being faithful to your wife, being honest in business, being kind to your employees. I don't care what it is. Donald Trump is not it. So where are we at? So Mike Pence is like talking about the 200, almost 250 conservative judges they've appointed for lifetime appointments to the federal bench. Now, here's the problem with that. This may work for abortion, but honey, it's going to go bad against your guns. They're coming for them. They're coming for them.
As we heard him say
today
in his pre-little prepared speech, which he stayed on script. So we'll get to hear the media talk about how presidential he was and how he brought everything together.
He looked like he was half asleep.
Oh crap! It was written for him, and he didn't jack it up. So he said, "No crap. This is, there's things we can do to prevent these tragedies. Florida didn't have a trigger law.
We have to finish the rally.
Okay. Well, okay. It tied back in.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I just wanted to say that Trump opened with Second Amendment rhetoric. Did. They are not going to take your guns. The Democrats are coming for your guns, which Murri and I, between us, have attended thousands of Democratic and progressive and liberal meetings. We do have clubs, and we all get together. Not one in all of the decades that I've been following the Democratic Party have any of us ever said we're going to take away guns. No. Ever. I'm a FOID card carrying Democrat, and we don't do that. I don't want to give up my stuff, and
So, when Mike Pence was talking about all the great things that they're doing and the things that will make everybody happy and whatnot, one of the reasons I got so fired up is because some of those people will take his word as law because they don't
know.
And some people are like, oh, there's so much information out there. And as we were driving through the area, there were no progressive radio stations. We finally got one outside of Ohio and picked up, I think, WCPT broadcast somewhere else. But there wasn't anything. It was all conservative. We heard a local deputy sheriff talking about...
basically, it was a veiled threat toward anybody who might disrupt the
It was not a
event.
veiled threat. It was a straight up, if you disturb the Trump event, our department's coming in and kicking your ass.
Okay.
Like, I kid you not. It was...
Yeah. And yet the only ass kicking that happened outside was a young guy beating the crap out of an old guy who was protesting, probably, was a war protester for Vietnam. And, here the young buck picks on an old guy because he can dominate him. And so I want to talk a little bit about the crowd. The crowd was about a third of people who are either bullied, so they need a bully to lead them, or are bullies, so they need to bully someone, dominate someone. And 2/3 were religious righties. Okay, all of them were xenophobic. All of them had a fear of brown and black people. All of them, even the brown and black people we talked to. Because one couple I talked to, a black couple that were trying to exit the stadium quickly, and I got to stop her and talk to her, and she said, I said, why are you here today? She goes, send them all back. Send all the Mexicans back. They're taking our jobs. I said, have they taken your job? No, but they're coming for our jobs. And I thought, okay, but she was dashing out the door. So
and Heidi is right. I wouldn't say everyone, but I would. And she sees. So my take on it is, is it there?
Yes.
But it's not. But I think some of it is not even. It's not racism. It's lack of information. It's lack of understanding.
If the only thing you ever hear about black and brown people is they're coming for your jobs, and
they're taking your women, they're dirty,
that one woman that was caught on tape, an elected official, about the browning of America. I'm sorry, that was a book in the 70s. Go back and read it. We can't help the fact that as races, we're going to mix. My race of German heritage also mixed with the Scots and the Welsh and the Scandinavians, and they didn't used to mix before, but yet here I am, a product of the melting pot, like all of us are. So we get people who don't necessarily look like our ancestors, but isn't that the intention of humanity, is to find somebody to love that shares your values with, that you don't judge by the color of their skin or where they came from, that you want to find somebody who's your soulmate, and maybe that person is a person that isn't white. I just find it to be the stupidest reason to hate somebody. As if God makes a mistake in color.
Right.
As if God makes a mistake in headgear, in a hat, and God does, you know what I mean? It's just so ludicrous that we can use this to divide. And
that's what I wanted to note, is the division is not inherent with, we talked to folks who really the reason they came was it was historical. They got to see the president in person.
We met a couple people like that.
But you have to remember that while we talked to a couple people like that, there's lots of different reasons why those that weren't the evangelicals or the or the aggressive testosterone fused crowd. So there was a whole third of them that were there for different reasons, or lack of understanding, or and I'm not trying, and this is going to sound very intellectually elitist. It's not their fault. It's like we said, driving down, we had no access to non-right wing or
the
Christian
podcast.
Or, exactly. We had no access to it. You look at the local paper, it pops up. They have crappy internet access. So if you have all of these factors for you, and you're a part of a church or a community, and you're hearing it from there, it's not necessarily their fault. Once they're given information, should they choose to continue those beliefs, then that falls on them.
Well,
but a lot of people only hear the trigger words, the keywords,
Yeah.
and they get angry, and when you talk to them without that, they're like, oh crap, that's not good. It's just breaking through that. It's educating.
They only know what they know, and it's not much. And it's not deliberate. It's just that nothing else is offered to them.
Right.
So,
and I'm not saying everybody. Absolutely not. There was clearly a lot of people there who were hateful and xenophobic, and
about the messaging from the president.
That was awful.
It was so egregious that for me, I left my seat in the nosebleed seats where I was watching everything, including him. And in the nosebleed seats, I want you to know that I'm still only maybe 100, 120 feet from him, and then moved within 30 feet just to kind of, gauge the crowd. But to hear him open with the rhetoric about the Second Amendment, and he didn't say pry my gun from my cold dead hands. I'm doubting he's ever fired a gun, unlike his sons who kill big
animals that are laying there to
yeah. So, but then he starts on the heartbeat law and protecting the sanctity of human life. You cannot talk about the sanctity of human life when we have children in cages along the southern border. You just can't. You can't. You cannot take holy high ground and then put kids in cages and separate families and threaten to cut SNAP and Medicaid and everything else that are social programs, not socialism, but social programs there to help protect humanity. So don't you dare sit there.
Like the one gentleman we talked to outside, and we said,
oh my God.
He said, I said, so what's the best part about, what do you like most about what's happened over the last 2.5 years? I even avoided the name, everything, to be as bland as I could. And he's like, well, the economy. The economy is awesome right now. And Heidi goes, so you're bringing more home in your paycheck every week? And she said it very genuinely. And he goes, well, no.
I'm on SSI.
And retired. So I was like, oh, okay.
And it's like, I didn't follow up with, you realize that he would like to remove your SSI.
Right.
That you are a pariah on the system. And he has used those words, not that day, but he has used those words that people are leeches on society that are collecting SSI. Now, I don't know what this guy's disability was. He stopped because he wanted, for some reason they didn't confiscate Murri's lighter. So we had a whole crowd after the event.
That we got to chat with.
I'm not a smoker, Murri is, but she had her lighter, so people were stopping.
For calling me out.
Well, why would you have a lighter otherwise? Were you lighting scented
candles? You never know.
Oh.
You never know why someone, you use it to loosen up your mascara or get a pen to work again.
I'm sorry, I'd set my face on fire.
Not up against your eye, the tube.
I don't wear a lot of makeup, so.
She's crazy.
I know. Anyway, so.
Let's go back to.
So with Trump, he constantly, he went after the fake news. So at one point, I didn't want to bring my notebook in. I recorded quite a bit.
So did I.
Because when you take notes, when you write with a pen and paper, people start after, are you with the fake news? Are you with the fake news? Well, I saw a lot of very anti-CNN T-shirts there, and that was alarming. You didn't see a lot of media buzzing around. But I do want to touch on something because I keep wanting to go there, and then we get off on another subject. So where I was sitting, I was looking down into the stadium, and Murri went out to the causeway to interview other people. So she's out there like kind of in the vestibule area so she can see the event and hear the event, but also talk to people coming and going. And I'm up there observing. And so I'm observing a guy comes out in a nice suit, and he's got a MAGA hat on. And he takes it off, and the people in the mosh pit area start cheering wildly. And then they get the whole stadium going. So he did that several times before any of the speakers came on. They called them the blue wristband people. So they brought the blue wristband people in there. Those are people that attended the pre-event and got the T-shirt and hat and sandwiches. And my understanding is some got $50. I'm not sure because I couldn't confirm that. But just talking to people who were blue wristband wearers. So they came down and they were in this mosh pit area surrounding the president, and it wasn't full. And I have to tell you, as full as they make that stadium look, there were a lot of empty seats. There's like one or two here or there, but
there were definitely empty seats.
But here's the thing that really struck me, is before they made the announcement for blue wristband people to come down to the mosh pit, they called it something else, the floor. There were empty seats, and I'm facing where the president, the people who are going to be behind the president. So I'm facing them so I could see him face first. And they bring in people and sit groups. One would be far to my right, and one would be almost directly behind him and a little to the left. Now, they bring those people in. That's a VIP section. It costs money to sit there. You had to have attended the training or had connections, political connections to be there.
It cost money to sit there.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
You got a special, like, meet and greet or whatever. So they sit people in those seats. Those people that came that were seated late were the protesters. And at a certain time, the guy with the red hat comes out. He does some and I've got it on a video, and I'll see if I can condense it down so you can see it. He signals them to begin the protest, okay? And they begin the protest so that Trump can deride them, call them Democrats, call them names. You have a Democrat name. And at one point, he pretends to pull a giant dick out of his pants and does this.
So the thing that I've
it
gone
was
back
disgusting.
and watched the video, or our videos a couple times, and at one point in the video that I was taking, and I have to verify this, it almost looks as if the security is pulling him through the floor, bringing attention to the protester instead of turning.
Oh, yeah.
So
they brought him more to the middle.
Instead of just walking to the side and having them exit where they were right next to a causeway to exit.
Yeah.
The security brought them to the floor
Yes.
and walked them across the floor, parading them as these
and
protesters.
The crowd
and
is
walked
going
them out.
wild while he's calling them names and calling them Democrats and saying they have Democrat names and pretending to pull on a big giant dick or penis. And I'm watching this unfold, and I'm like, I know. Okay, and here's the thing. This is the first sitting president I've ever had. But you know me, Murri. I'm good for a protest. I'm down. I have stuff in my car just in case we have a pop-up protest.
In case there's a pop-up protest.
You never know.
Heidi carries carries her
here,
bell. She carries... Yeah.
I'll have my cowbell.
Oh,
And I know. I'm ready. I'm ready. I have blank poster board because I believe that's an expression of First Amendment rights that we all have. And given the opportunity to protest, I am there. I have been a one-woman protester in front of Adam Kinzinger's office many times. And here's the thing, is that I want you to know that kind of tapped into some of the protest groups. We can't come up with a name, a person. There's no arrest record, nothing for this crowd of people that protested on cue at the Trump rally. Now, as we were standing in the causeway later on, another group came out, and that was the group that was seated to the left of him. So he has people planted. Murri, I'm going to go on record and say, for sure, these are plants. These were not protesters. I mean, these were not the guys that we saw outside that we talked to. These were not the people standing across the street. These were people made to be there in order to incite the crowd and paraded about and then removed from the building. But I can't find an arrest record. I can't find a name. I can't find anybody who's even has any idea who these people are. So I'm saying they're paid actors.
What's interesting is as you know, so we can go back to the crowd reactions. People
chants
were planted for chanting. So in one part, I recorded about 1 minute and 37 seconds, and I was doing people's faces. Like I could see 1,000 people one direction, 1,000 people another direction. There's far out. There's close-ups of people's faces, and it's while he's talking about Elizabeth Warren and calling her a liar and how her heritage isn't. And I expected to see so much more, like, pumped up about
vitriol,
it.
Yeah.
And most of the people looked really disinterested. Like, okay, we've heard it before.
Yeah.
So that was kind of a positive sign to me that maybe his song and dance is playing itself out a little bit. At least, when you see 1,000 faces and maybe 10 are, oh yeah, 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 with their buddies, and the rest are like straight faced.
Yeah, exactly. So until
weird.
the people on the floor in the mosh pit, until the guy would take on and off his hat and get them signaled to start chanting, to start clapping, whatever they were supposed to do, and then they would get the stadium going, and it was just so disingenuous. It was so staged, and that was what I wanted to see for myself. Part of it is I wanted to see, is it people that are really there chanting, lock her
How
up,
many people
build
are
the
really
wall?
doing it? Is the whole stadium?
Oh
Do
no,
people really do this spontaneously?
it's not
Is it?
spontaneous.
No, 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 no. And it
Send
wasn't
her back.
everybody.
The,
That's what I think is so interesting. Is such a large
when
portion.
when they did the
We're not into it.
sender back chant, he immediately like, no, no, no. But that chant originated from the floor. Build the wall originated from the floor. Lock her up originated from the floor. Those were planted, staged, manipulated chants. And if you don't think in the last one when they did send her back wasn't part of that, 100% that was started and manipulated by
And
his
during the
people.
piece that I posted, the Elizabeth Warren piece, a chant broke out. But if you look at the 2,000 people I'm scanning, nobody's chanting it. It
They
comes
didn't,
from one area,
they
one
didn't know the
specific.
words.
No, no, they knew it, but they were like, why? I mean, it's
Yeah.
pretty hard. The 3-word chants are not real hard to
Well, yeah,
figure
they
out.
like those 3-word chants and
Oh,
with small syllables.
and we've already talked for quite a while and gone over our
I
time.
know, but I do want to touch, Murri, on the president's reaction today, because we heard the xenophobic, racist, Second Amendment rhetoric, anti-science,
did.
anti-press, all of those things that would incite people to violence.
Those third of the people who were there, who were the avid, rabid sycophants.
Right.
Those people who were looking for a fight. Those people who, there was a third of them there.
Yeah.
And we have to say that was about 5,000 people that were there were like that. And that's a lot. To me, I
So-
look at it more hopeful because so many more were not like that. But, that's still a very big demographic of people who are,
You only need one or two crazies.
like we've seen over the weekend.
And Ohio being an open carry state, and this guy defending Second Amendment rights, and yet no weapons were allowed into the stadium, I find that to be
I really think that
so...
he should, just say, yeah, carry your weapon. Well, the Secret Service probably wouldn't.
Well, yeah, I told you, I know somebody...
Oh, I thought you were going to say something else that we
I
talked
told
about.
you I know somebody who moved to Ohio so they could carry their Bushmaster in,
Yeah.
unfortunately a relative, their Bushmaster into Kroger. I mean, my God, you have to have bigger life goals than that. The cantaloupe are not going to kill you. They might taste bad. You might get an overripe melon or an underripe melon, but you don't need to shoot them.
Right.
So anyway, and then I wanted to talk about Rick Santorum today, totally gaslighting the victims. They were soft targets. I'm sorry, we live in the USA. We don't need to think about being soft targets.
Can I just stop something?
Yeah.
They were soft targets, yet both Texas and Ohio are open carry states, which means by the argument made by the NRA that they should have not had, that everyone was safe because so many good guys with guns shoot the bad guys with guns. So they... there should be soft targets. Are you kidding? Everybody there has a gun.
Soft targets. He means the toddlers that were shot were unarmed. That's a soft target, unarmed. Mm-hmm. Okay? I'm sorry, the Wild West was a myth. I was a huge reader of Westerns.
Even when you'd go into Dodge City, you'd have to turn your weapons into the sheriff.
You'd have to turn them in at the edge of town.
Yeah, you
weren't
couldn't
allowed
take your
to bring your
guns
gun.
in.
More people died from typhoid and typhus and the bubonic plague and smallpox than ever died from gun violence in the West. For God's sake, people, try to learn your history. I'm in your face again. So
and I'm just thinking everybody's going to get better trying to see
yeah, she thinks
I am. I'm a poly freaking Anna. I know, realistic.
All right. So
I think there's hope.
I'm going to tell you that part of what Trump said today about doing everything possible. Listen, President, we have a bill that already passed the House for universal background checks. Well, unequivocally, in states that have that safety regulation, that there is less gun violence overall. Chicago notwithstanding, the rest of the state of Illinois. Okay, Chicago's got its own set of problems, and they're hammering them out, and hopefully they'll fix them this time. But Mitch McConnell will never call it to the floor. He has taken so much NRA money, he will never call universal background checks
He
to the
fell
floor.
down, go boom.
You know, and I've said, because I'm in your face, he has a long, slow,
Miserable recovery.
painful recovery, which none of the medications work.
I'm sorry, I did post complications from a shoulder fracture today, so we can all keep our fingers crossed.
Anyway, so please get out your phone and text the word checks to 64-33 to be connected to your senator to tell them to act on background checks, bringing that bill to the floor of the Senate. So, you know, if you're a man of your word, Mr. President, and God knows that we know that you're not, let's get on that. You know, Mitch McConnell, Mr. Turtle, is not going to do anything, so maybe we could find somebody.
We're going to have to talk about what he said today and the words that he used, but we can't do that now because we've already bored you for 45 minutes.
No, I do want to just touch on it really quick because the man mentioned God, 17 different references to God in prayers, and he is not a man of God. He says that we're all praying and grieving for the victims and survivors of the barbaric assault on human. I have humanities, so he didn't even look like he was awake yet.
He called him a wicked man, a twisted monster. Yeah. Those were the terms that he used, isolating that one individual, a slaughter nation. I was actually really surprised. I think everyone was surprised to hear him toss out the manifesto with race and hate. We have to stop white supremacy. Now, he's the one who took white supremacists off of the domestic terrorist list.
Yes.
He's the one who rolled back the mental health
in 2017
requirements for gun ownership.
Right.
So, you know, there's all these lying crap, and he's never said anything about white supremacy.
Until today.
I'm guaranteeing within 6 hours he has tweeted a backtrack on that because he's going to get so much blowback from his base.
Right.
I'm that's my prediction here.
But Murri, here's the terrifying part.
Well, no, okay, so here's what I heard. I heard him say, you know, he made some phrase or comment to,
not blaming the gun.
We are a Christian nation.
We are not.
Right. And so by saying that appeals to your nationalism, which is one of the things of white Christian nation. He says the internet is at fault. Okay, whoa. Yeah, I know. So who's his buddy? Who's charge of the FCC? Who is the one who makes rules for the internet? He's launching investigations into the internet to shut these hate crimes down, which what does that do? Think back to the Patriot Act. It's the same damn thing. He doesn't need to declare martial law. He can do it this way. So he's cutting off access to what he's wanted to do for a long time, making it only what you can see.
Right.
Cutting off access to social media. You know, they don't have access to that in China.
That's
One of his big buddies, you know.
Or in North Korea. They don't have social.
That terrified me. Then he goes on and he
blames video games. It's the
which
video
is from the
fault.
1980s.
Yes, that was Tipper Gore.
And another part that was ridiculous was he said, we need to involuntarily hold people. So go into their home. If they're considered a risk, we need to take them out of their homes and hold them indefinitely. And
he's talking about mass incarceration of the mentally ill without due process.
Because he said, and I quote, well, yeah, without due process, but also if someone is found guilty of, he is instructing the DOJ to enforce the death penalty
without due process.
Without due process, saying, he said, and I quote, it's not going to take years and years and years. We're going to, when they do it, they're guilty, we're going to execute them. Yeah, like, dude, it doesn't work this way.
That's not how our criminal justice system works on purpose, because we've executed so many innocent
Well, just
men.
The Constitution in general says
yes.
you can do it. Okay, so
So here's the other thing. He banned the bump stock. My neighbor has a bump stock on his Bushmaster. He was shooting it all day Saturday. Boom, 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 boom. So you ban the bump stock. There's still plenty of them out there. You can still use a 3D printer to make your own. if you don't ban high capacity magazines, like the guy in Dayton had 100-round clip, if you don't ban the large capacity magazines, what good does it do? You can
platitudes for the middle of the road.
You can go on Amazon and order parts to make your own bump stock. I watched my dad make stuff like that when I was a kid because he was an avid collector that was sure the Russians were coming. So we were armed and dangerous.
Just about 20 years later than he thought.
So he did condemn white supremacy. He wants to do rapid.
He's walking that shit back, I bet you.
Okay, wait. Here's one thing that was terrifying, and this is one thing I've said over and over again. It's not going to be the Democrats that come for your guns. It's going to be the Republicans. And he's already mentioned the words. He said the words rapid disarmament.
He did. How do you Second Amendment folks feel about that? I'm sure he'll find a way
to twist it. But our president said rapid disarmament on the parameters they choose. So they could choose my neighbor down the street for rapid disarmament.
They're restricting our civil liberties and our civil rights so they can dismantle the federal government. He lied about how many
Did you watch Animal Farm?
There were for weapons violations. It's happening.
It's happening.
It's it, man.
It's, here's
our only hope in my saving the world Pollyanna sort of universe is to get as many people as we can. I'd like to do every couple of weeks have a Republican or a Trump supporter on and talk to them and without the animosity and everything and try to work through that.
I'll try not to be...
It may have to be a solo cast from Murri, or I just have to hide Heidi's weapons.
No. I don't... My 22s broke apart. I don't have it handy.
So anyway, we wanted to say thank you for tuning in. When we say we went incognito, it wasn't an infiltrating. We're trying to trick, supporters into being stupid. It was, we went with as much of a non-bias as we could to see. And the other Elizabeth Warren thing was, I want you to look at that video and see how no one was chanting with her. I think I said that. That was really crazy.
Right.
So anyway, we are Heartland Mamas.
But the incognito thing was, we wanted to fit in and be approachable. So
because they were suspect. People were paranoid to even talk to each other.
If somebody saw me taking notes, because I stepped into the causeway to take notes, and after that I went into the bathroom stall to write stuff down, so I had to be quick. And because when I was writing notes, they said, "Are you part of the fake media?" And I came up with, my husband isn't here, and I want to be sure and let him know. And that's true. Stan and I had a long discussion, but we have huge issues at foot here.
Trust.
No, what I'm saying is the rhetoric that he brought down today about locking people up and murdering or executing people without due process, removing guns without due process, it's terrifying rhetoric. And if you haven't read
and we can't allow ourselves to fall into the trap we did with the Patriot Act.
Oh,
because everyone was like, no, it's worth it. Our liberties are worth it. We can let everyone spy on us.
You should have read the Patriot Act then before you voted for it.
Right, and I was not in favor of the Patriot Act, nor were many people, but it went through. And if he's smart, he'll utilize this to push more.
If he's smart,
restrictions on.
Who are we talking?
Yeah, somebody in his world is. All right, we gotta
go. Wait. I want to make one more observation. Okay, Mike Pence is at his elbow lately. Have you noticed Mike Pence doesn't leave him alone for very long anymore? Do you know how rare it is for a vice president and a president to be in the same room together?
No.
Oh yeah, that's not real common. So So and if you saw, Mike Pence was with them again today. So somebody's pulling his strings, because I don't think the man can pull his own strings. He can apparently pull on a fake dick, but to make a point.
But we would just like to say that it was a really interesting experience. We'll be posting our stories.
We met some great people.
And videos as we go through today and tomorrow. So check them out. Let us know what you think.
And people don't vote for him because of being a one-issue voter. I mean, I wore a shirt down and back that said I'm a one-issue voter to defeat Donald Trump.
And she got awesome responses.
I did. I had people come up and go, just love the shirt.
I had a heart attack when she walked into my house because I thought she was wearing that to the rally. And I'm like, we said we were going nondescript. How is that
nondescript,
Heidi? How is that?
I ain't dogging it until I found something that was red. I don't own any red clothes.
Neither do I. So thank you guys for tuning in. Please respond with questions. If you watch the videos, give us your feedback. What do you see without being tainted? Really look at yourself and go, okay, let me scale back and try to look at something I hadn't thought of before. We would appreciate it if you do that, because that's how we're going to spread the message. That's how we're going to reach those folks who don't know any better or don't have other information.
I'm telling you, if you did
spread the word, please. That's how we're going to...
The president's full speech today, you owe it to yourself to go back and watch it and watch how many times he's removing due process. He's removing social media corridors. He's removing access to information.
It's terrifying.
It is. You know, the thing with him is he never says anything that doesn't have an underlying factor. And to think that we could be limited, and because Sinclair Media has bought up so many of our local papers, our communication
and radio and TV, and television.
And Sinclair Media is the Koch brothers right out of Oklahoma. So we need to wind it up for today. We could talk all day about this.
Yes, we could.
But we didn't know when we were originally playing this show that we were going to have two horrific mass murders so shortly after his pro-Trump rally.
So what we're going to do is we'll sign off for today. Thanks again for listening. Please check us out at Heartland Mamas on Twitter, Facebook, Buzzsprout, anywhere you can, YouTube. Share with your friends. It's about making sure that people who can find that there's another avenue and more information out there. And Heidi and I do our very best to present you with facts and then our impressions of those facts.
And opinions. And
so you'll always get at least somewhat of a fair story here.
In the reason I'm so in your face, Murri, is that you have to be bigger than that. My Jim Rohn, the late Jim philosopher, used to say, you got to be smarter than that. And he would say that to me when I would do something stupid. So that's kind of the attitude I take. You just got to be smarter than that.
And I'm trying to figure out how to get to the people who aren't the 1/3 that are there, so that we can get back to being a nation that has empathy and compassion.
I don't think you're going to move the abortion rights people.
I can get 1/3 of them, man. 33% of them. That would be awesome.
They're going to save the babies.
But the thing is even now listen real quick, and we do have to go. Even when we win the Senate back and he is removed from office in 2020, and we start to undo all the damage that's been done, which will take centuries, we still have to find a way to mend with our neighbors, with the red pockets. We have to find a way to get them on board to move forward as our country. And that's what's really important to me.
And if we can't have common ground on what he said today, the rhetoric he said today, holy crap, people, you gotta be smarter than that.
So. All right. Thanks a lot. Again, please share with your friends, Heartland Mama. We are on Twitter, Facebook, everywhere. It really means the world to us that you follow us, and thanks a lot.
Heidi Henry signing off.
Murri Briel. Bye-bye.
Bye.